Champions for Children. Reuniting families.
Welcome to CLU, reuniting families for me and you. Welcome to CLU, for the safety of children and the parents too.
Welcome to the CLU show. Reuniting families. Champions for Children.
Welcome to the CLU show.
Part of our self-development multimedia platforms.
Your number one podcast for keeping nuclear family performances alive, functional, cross-functional, and thriving.
Designed to prevent or solve your dangerous and difficult divorce, court, or heartache problems, while also highlighting safer and easier solutions for families of the future.
Introducing your host, author of Law and Side Law, and co-founder of CLU, Aaron Wimple.
Hi, Dennis. Welcome to the CLU show. 3 reasons CLU Assured Family Connections could help you win your favorite reality show. With me is false accusation survival expert and CLU childhood safety file expert, Denis Durham. Dennis, thanks for joining us today. Welcome to the CLU show.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
Now, Dennis, you give us a little background about yourself.
Well, I have a degree in music, and I also have a degree in biblical studies, and also in the process of publishing a book about my situation with my kids. So I'm looking forward to that here coming out very soon.
Now, tell us a little bit more about your kids. You and your family wrote the theme song to this CLU show podcast?
Yeah, I wrote the song, and my daughter and my son spoke the words to it, the intro and the outro to it. And it was really a good time to do it because at the time we recorded it, it wasn't long after I started seeing my kids on a regular basis without supervision. So it was just a really good time.
So there's a lot of meaning behind that song at the same time you wrote it.
Yep.
So tell us about that. What inspired each one of your parts, like each of your kids? What inspired you to get them involved?
So doing the recording?
The spoken parts during your song, yeah.
Yeah, I just thought it would be very appropriate since that's what the show's about, getting your kids and hearing their voices on there. It just really adds to it. And they like doing it. They enjoyed it also, and it's just something for us to do together. And it's something that we can, look back and really rejoice in being together and doing that. So,
amen. It's like they're enjoying being a part of your life, especially in something like that.
That's right.
Now, you and your family have gone through what could have been a traumatic divorce experience, and we'll get into that. But first, you've also created some pretty amazing milestones during the heart-wrenching situation you guys went through. And I know the pain started with the divorce papers filed against your family's marriage, along with the false accusation. But let's get into the 3 major good milestones since then. The best one, of course, we'll save for last. That's about beating that false accusation. But the other 2 that I want to talk about, besides the cool music you guys made, is Evan's initiative and a book you wrote entitled Elizabethia. Now, did I pronounce that right?
Elizabethia.
Elizabethia. Okay.
Oh.
So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
About the book? Yeah.
Yes.
So the book, was real therapeutic for me. Is really kind of a way to me express my thoughts. And really the book is fiction, and it's about basically a journey that me and my 2 kids go on to find these lost music trees. And since I have a background in music, it's all music based. And really what it represents, it's sort of an allegory, which means there's a hidden meaning to everything in the book pretty much. And so what you learn as you read the book is these lost music trees represent the lost children in family court. And so it's this search for these alienated trees, which really represent the alienated children. And so it's this process of then reuniting the trees to their proper place. But all of it has meaning to it, and has a deeper meaning related to family court and what I personally went through, and also what other people have gone through dealing with family court. And it was not meant to really put anybody down. other than just the system itself, just to reveal how bad the system has become. And it's done in a very creative, allegorical way. I think a lot of people, you can read the book and not even know that, and just read it for the fun of reading the book, but it has a deeper meaning to it.
Yeah, I remember that. I was lucky enough to read the manuscript as you were writing it, and it was really inspiring. How it was like a treasure hunt to kind of find the into notes or the trees that got lost, and then it was like a treasure hunt.
Yeah, so in the book, in the land of Elizabethia, they have trees that grow music notes on them, and there's 7 of them. Well, they didn't know about any of the others. There's 5 other trees that were lost, and they didn't even know. And when the 3 characters, which represent me and my 2 kids, when they learn that there's other trees that have other notes on them, the people in Elizabethia fight them over it because they think they're crazy. They say that's not true. And then they learn about the fact that these trees were alienated, and that even makes them angrier. So they have to fight the system, the musical authorities.
It's the ones who wrote the music.
Right. So, and the title of the book is Elizabethia, but it has a subtitle, which is The Search for Lost Music Trees and the War Against Musical Tyranny. So that's what the book is really about.
Awesome. So that was the first milestone that came out of this experience that you went through that I know of, and then there was a second one called Evan's Initiative. Now, Evan is your second child?
Yes.
So Evan's Initiative, as I understand it, in conjunction with Team CLU, is a proposal for a new legislative initiative for Illinois state representatives, since we're all from Illinois here. A concept that says if you're falsely charged with something in family court, then you could have bail until those charges are heard and decided on, while in the meantime you get to stay free pending trial. Do you think that's a move that any state representative in the world will sponsor?
Yeah, because in family court, you learn that you are guilty if you're accused, and there needs to be, that whole system needs changed.
There needs to be something in there for safety, at least. If an Evans Initiative isn't a bail safety mechanism to keep people free, there needs to be something right there, just so the presumption of guilt isn't automatic.
Yeah. So the way I feel about it is, if you're not found guilty or you're not going to criminal court, then you shouldn't have, anything used against you
in another court, like in family court, consequences in family court.
Right.
Well, that had to be a terrible experience, and that horrifying situation that you found yourself in so unexpectedly. I guess you came home one day and the sheriff's office wouldn't let you go in the house.
Well, I was actually at home, and they came and served me with an order of protection, and I was kicked out of my home. And I think that's one of the other things that needs to change. I was kicked out of my home, and yet I had committed no crime, nor did I go to court first to see if I needed to be thrown out of my home. I was just thrown out simply because I was accused. And, you don't really find that so much in other areas of life. But in family court, those things, you're just accused and you're guilty. I should have been allowed to at least stay in my home and see my kids until we could work things out and go to court. I should have been thrown out of my home. To me, that's a human rights violation, and that needs to be corrected.
Amen, amen. And no one expects what happened to you to happen at all. It's just unimaginable. But through it all, even though you must not have felt like it, you did something meaningful for your son, and you did something meaningful for your daughter. You did something for God and your community. I mean, so what's next? Climbing a tall building in a single bound like Superman?
Yeah, there's so much work to be done with this issue that, it would probably take many years to fix family court. It's so ingrained. It's not just family court; it's in our society, and just so many changes that are needed. So much education that's needed.
So after that first step, when the cops showed up and you went through that long ordeal, did that situation and the following hearings and whatever, did that cause you kind of unbearable anxiety, do you think, after that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was really bad. And Because when I had the order of protection used against me, I went, and I remember exactly, it was 157 days, and I didn't see my kids at all.
Oh man, that had to be terrible. I can't imagine something like that.
Yeah, I should have at least been able to see them in some capacity, but I wasn't. They were taken from me at all. And the problem with doing that is then that allows the alienation process to begin, and the kids to then start saying things that they don't want to see me because they hear bad things. I must be bad because, I'm not allowed to be around them, and so it just perpetuates the lie.
Yeah, and that's part of my testimony too. You want to be there to defend yourself in your child's own mind at least, but that 157 days, that makes it impossible. They hear one side of the story and they absorb all that negativity of one party without your defense in their own mind.
Yeah, and then after the 157 days, I could see him, but I still couldn't see him very much. It was once a week, only 2 hours, and it was under supervision. And so that further perpetuates a problem, because then my kids will see me, but then it's only because, or it's only in the context of someone looking over me in a sort of controlled environment, and it was with somebody that none of us knew. And so that perpetuates the lie that something's wrong with Dad.
It like ensures the one part. It's like 50% Dad, 50% somebody else that's kind of there because of the first accusations.
Right. And and anything you say to the kids might be used and twisted to mean something, and that was done.
Since that's already the pattern they're learning to absorb.
Yeah, and I can share something that happened if you want there.
Sure.
So, and I think, Aaron, I've shared this with you, but there was one time when I was playing hide and seek with my daughter. And so the next week I was talking to the supervisor, and I asked her how things were going. And she said she was concerned. And I said, well, what are you concerned about? She said, well, I'm concerned that your daughter was hiding from you.
Oh my goodness.
And I said, well, that's because we were playing hide and seek. And she said, well, I'm just concerned.
That fun didn't even register in her thoughts.
So she used an innocent game of hide and seek and twisted that to mean my kids were, especially my daughter, was scared of me. My daughter was the one actually asked to play. So that's an example of something very innocent, simple, and it was used to make me look like I was doing something wrong.
That's horrible. Sorry to hear about that. So from a parent's perspective then, what kind of stress now did that experience put on your children?
Well, they, of course, had bad thoughts about Dad. My son had something he called me. He just simply called me Bad Dad, and that was his title for me. Thankfully, that no longer is the case. But there for a while, that's all he called me, Bad Dad.
Yeah, that has to put some unnecessary stress on them, or that they don't know how to handle that situation.
Right.
In the moment, they're like, oh my goodness, what do? I got this supervisor here saying one thing, and then I got a seeming court system saying something else, and can I love my dad? They're probably conflicted themselves.
Well, it's got to be stressful for the kids thinking that one of their parents doesn't really love them or doesn't really care about them, which wasn't the case at all.
Yeah. So do you think your faith helped you through that experience?
Oh yeah, I don't know how I would have made it without my faith. Yeah, I don't know how people would make it without it. I really don't. And not only just the faith, it's related to that are the people that have come around me with that same faith and supported me through it. And because if you look at it like you can come out the other end stronger and better, and you can understand what other people go through, how you can help other people. And so, yeah, if you look at it like there's something you can gain from it, then that's what you need to do.
Great advice. That's great advice. If you hadn't worked around that deal, that accusations and in those situations with the visitations in like a social justice way at the same time, you're making your content, your books, and your Evans initiative. Do you feel like it would have lasting effects in a bad way on the children?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I know, because it went on for It went on for 5 years. Actually, 5.5 years is the total amount of time it went on. And so then after that time, I started to see my kids without supervision after having gone back to court many, many times over many years like that. And then finally, I'm getting time where I could spend normal time with them and have somewhat of a normal relationship. But there was just a lot of division, a lot of strife. I had to repair the relationship with my kids, and that's taken some time. And I think there's going to be lasting ramifications as my children get older and they'll ask questions, about divorce and what happened. So that, we'll kind of have to relive that some, I'm sure in the years to come.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, and now that you and the good Lord have bridged that kind of painful experience and your children are in a much safer place now, the ex-relationship seems to even be getting collaborative. I mean, the two of you, from all outside appearances, seem to be co-parenting very well with your children following the divorce.
Yeah, things are going really well now. So I know everybody doesn't have that, but thankfully in my case it's worked out. And that makes all the difference if you can work together, if that's possible.
So that's important from here on out.
Oh, yeah. Because unfortunately, the way the system is set up, if she wanted to, she could just, cause the same problems again. But that's not going to happen here in my situation, looks like. And so things have worked out.
Just keep you doing the same things and pushing the same buttons within the system.
Yep, and it's working out best for the kids.
So does that future of your children look differently now compared to what it would have looked like if you had not been so proactive?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if I hadn't really fought to change anything, then I'd still be completely alienated from them. I'd probably still have supervision, because the way that it's amazing, but the way the judge set it up, I would have been supervised with my kids till they were 18 years old. And at the time, when it started, my daughter was 3 and my son was 1. So you're talking about till they were 18. So that's a lot of years. So
yeah, that's too long for something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So did that new solution, those milestones you create, help turn the anxieties pretty much of everyone into blessings in a way?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's totally turned around, and the relationship I have with my kids is great, and it's starting to blossom.
So this United CLU Parents Group sounds pretty amazing. Something desperately needed probably in every community. If there were a Christian CLU Parents Group like we have here in Decatur, Illinois, in every county, would that help more people facing these chronic loss situations?
Oh, yeah, and I do believe there needs to be a CLU in every community across the country. And I like the idea behind CLU. One of the greatest things is it's the idea that if you think about it, family court is set up to cause people to fight. And so it's like it pits one parent against the other, and it hurts the kids. But CLU looks at it differently. Looks at it like, let's not go to a court to pit one another. Let's go to court and see how we can work together. That's where I think the real genius is in CLU. It totally changes the scenario and changes the perspective on family court. And so you want to look at, and I think the judges need to start looking at which parent is wanting to co-parent, and kind of lean towards the one that wants to co-parent, and look more suspiciously at the parent that wants to fight the equality. Look at the one who wants the equality, and focus on the things that will bring the kids together. And there's things that CLU has sought to initiate. We had a thing where what was called Jacob's Ladder, and that was just simply a thing where you would work with your kids. Say once a month you'd have a little challenge, and you could teach your kids something, and you would document that, and that's showing a positive movement in the relationship with your child. But the family court doesn't do anything like that. And like we have a safety file too. A safety file is where you record things that you do that are positive. Maybe you go out together and do something that you've never done together before, or do some kind of a do some kind of activity, and you can record that and as a positive event. Maybe something at their school they do. Maybe you attend one of their concerts or something like that, and that's recorded as positive. So CLU is looking at the positive aspects and recording those, whereas family court tends to look at all the negative. Instead, let's take the parents and say, hey, let's work on the relationship of making it better and bringing them together.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Like, so if a child's doing something positively, learning something positive, like brushing his teeth in the morning or tying his shoe, or when they're older, changing a car tire or something, you're documenting that good stuff, the achievements they're making in life, and not so much the negative stuff like possible false accusations or possible speeding tickets or possible bad things. You're using empathy to document the positive things, like, well, did he do this good thing or did he? So you're like putting some positive spins in his life.
Yeah, and actually the exact opposite is done with family court. And like I said, with the visitations, you could say one word and they'll take and twist it. They're doing the exact opposite, trying to find things that are negative when there's no negativity there. Yeah. They're trying to find something bad. Yeah.
And you're not even talking about totally rehabbing the family court system. You're just talking about complementing it in this additional way that seems to bless everyone.
Yeah. So what about, like, say you have supervision, what about documenting what the parent's doing that's good? But they don't do that. It's only the negative.
Yes. Which is so ironic, because
really negative a lot of times.
It's twisted too negative, and it was never even what it really was.
Yep.
Yeah, and I see your point. I see how you're showing that the whole positive part, pretty much of society, is being left out of our permanent records in the courthouse. Which, man, that could be a catastrophe to all of us. Our future selves might look back and be like, "Man, there wasn't one good person here on earth."
That's right. Yeah, and we need to do that with our children. We need to see when they do things positive, to focus on those things.
Right. Start at your roots. Root for your roots and get your roots growing up in the right direction, not just in the negative only direction. Unfortunately, the kids in this situation is ours, but with an opportunity for a positive direction.
Right.
That's a great point. I love your insights. So would a CLU in every county help more children facing those chronic situations who don't even know it? Maybe help more children to live with those chronic anxieties, but instead also have permanent blessings?
Yeah, because when you're going through this, you need to have a support group. You really do. And so you need people around you that can encourage you, give you ideas, both just legal ideas, legal avenues you can take, ideas you can present to your attorney or to the court, and just the emotional, spiritual supporting you in your faith walk, and encouraging you to keep up the fight, because if you try to do it alone, that's next to impossible.
Yeah, you sort of feel isolated and like it's never meant to be.
That's right.
So now you have this new future to look forward to, and that new legislative initiative called Evans Initiative, the second of at least 3 blessings we've talked about. A concept that says if you're falsely charged with something in family court,
then you could have bail until those charges are heard and decided on. So during the time you go from accused to trial, there's a segue to stay free pending the verdict.
That's a great idea. I love that. Do you think Evans Initiative is a move that any Illinois state representative, or other state for that matter, will get to sponsor someday?
Well, I sure hope so. It's an uphill battle, because I think there's a lot of misconceptions about family court and about what fathers go through. So we can only hope, but I think there just needs to be a lot of education and
a lot of information sharing.
Yeah, it's because there's too many misconceptions, lies out there that need to be corrected.
Do you feel like your children are safer with your work, safer than they would have been?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's no question. The research shows that when parents are involved, the kids do much better in every area, academics and emotionally, in every way. So no
socially.
No question. Yep, in every way. Yep.
Just healthier individuals all around.
Yep.
When you were going through those setbacks in your marriage, with your children, with the courts, potentially your employer and future livelihood, I assume, like so many people do, how can other people get through that? Because I think a lot of other people are going through that silently, like just in silence, because either they don't want to open up and talk about it, or they don't have anyone that they can really talk to. How can people better handle those feelings? Is there some takeaway advice that you can give our listeners?
Yeah, just like I said earlier, that you need to hook up with other people who've been through it. That's why I think, CLU is great. If nothing else, start a group in your area. Start a CLU group, and it means nothing more initially than just to get together. Say you pick one day a week or one day a month, and you just get together and you talk, and that's all it would mean at first. And you can, then take it from there and do with CLU. With CLU, you kind of can customize it. There's no like dictator saying you got to do things. You just get together and support each other, and then as more people get involved and people have different abilities and talents, they kind of do their own thing and what they can do to support each other and support the initiatives, whether legislative initiatives or just supporting each other personally. So yeah, I would encourage getting together and supporting one another regularly.
That's great. So just get together and chat, and the details will kind of self-develop themselves.
Yeah, and just customize it. Make it your own.
Man, that's good advice. We'll be right back with the conclusion of 3 reasons CLU Assured Family Connections could help you win your favorite reality show. Welcome back. We hope this show has been a blessing to you, and that our special guest has helped you with his testimony and keeping family connections together. Denis, before the break, we were talking about how God and his team CLU turned out to be a safety net for your blessed children. So tell us about any future milestones you have. Any plans to keep those good family connections thriving and moving forward?
Well, the big thing is the publication of my book, Elizabethia. So hopefully that's going to be sometime early next year, 2022. So I'm hoping CLU will partner to have a book signing and have people, invite some people there and to promote it. And because really it's a book that, I wrote it for my kids, but also for others who are going through the situation, and maybe they can share it with their kids. And I think it expresses a father's heart. And I think that's something that all people who've been through it can share with their children.
Yeah, kind of a silent voice, a silent side that most people don't ever get to express or don't know how to express.
Yep. And I would encourage people going through this to write down their thoughts, make a journal, and share, and eventually hopefully share those with your children so they know, what your thoughts are. Write letters. If you can't give them to your children at the time, save them. And so they, just a way of journaling your journey through it all. And as far as the book is concerned, I'd like to do another podcast here with Aaron. We can talk more details about the book and when it comes out. Maybe before the signing or maybe after, we could do something and just let people know where they can get the book.
Yeah, well, I think CLU has a Facebook page. How about we just keep our listeners posted on the Facebook page, and if they like that page, they should get notifications about any future events.
Yep, that'd be great.
Okay. Yeah, and I like what you said about being therapeutic. Anytime you journal those experiences with yourself or with a group or just with a milestone in your mind of like writing a book or writing a song or whatever, that's kind of therapeutic in those situations. It helps with some of that anxiety.
Yep, it does, and then you can always share that with your kids.
Yeah. How about your kids? Do they have any big dreams for their future?
Oh, yeah, they're still pretty young. I have a son who's 8 and a daughter who's 10. So, yeah, it's just now it's just a journey of me now having an opportunity to kind of help them along and guide them in the right direction. So I'm looking forward to their future and being involved.
Well, great. Well, thank you, Denis, for joining us, and thank you to our listeners for joining us. And hey, you're invited to join us again. Remember, when you pivot lives from being uncovered in the middle of divisional protocols to being covered like this, you're not only helping vulnerable children, you're helping families of the future make data-driven decisions, a fairer trade, if you will, on the human scales. so that family gaps will someday no longer have to be overly bound apart, overtaxed in the middle, but pivoting towards money in the middle, more inclusion, more accurate decisions at the root level, so that successful, prosperous, clean, performance-oriented data will someday abound. Please join us next time for another episode of the CLU Show. I'm your host, Aaron, and this is our special guest, Denis Durham. Denis, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Remember, Jesus and Paul went through some pretty monumental trials too, so we're in good company here. Thanks for listening to this episode. 3 reasons CLU Assured Family Connections could help you win your favorite reality show.
Bye! Thanks for giving us a voice.
It's what our coverage does, one unrepresented life at a time.
Thanks for listening.
Welcome to CLU, reunited families for me and you. Welcome to CLU, for the safety of children and the parents too.